Hey everyone, Rob here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm here to talk about the Beatles. And I know that there's been many a critic, many a YouTuber that has talked about the Beatles, but today I just want to give my take on them. I consider them the greatest band of all time, the most influential band of all time, the band that shaped the world of rock and pop music as we know it today. And they did it before anyone else did it. And they did it with perfection. So I'm not going to feature the whole Beatles catalog, but I am going to start in about the era of 1965 and work to 1970, which to me, to my preferences, is my favorite Beatles period. I believe that at that point, they had evolved as a group to where they weren't just putting out great songs, but they were putting out great albums. Albums that stood for themselves. Albums that were filled with song-to-song consistency. And albums that were concept albums. Something that had never been done up until that time period. So we all owe a huge debt of gratitude to the Beatles. Our music today would never be even close to where it is if it wasn't for them forging the way. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. The first CD I want to feature today is one of my all-time favorite Beatles CDs, and that is Rubber Soul. Now this is a trifold, as all of these are. Wow, this is great. This is close to being one of my all-time favorite Beatles CDs. You can see for probably the first time in their albums how they have matured, how they are progressing as songwriters, and just putting together an album that stands on its own. Maybe this is not a total concept album, but it is definitely has several elements of being a concept album. One of my all-time favorites on here is Norwegian Wood. John Lennon sings on this one, and it's a masterpiece. It's fantastic. The level of songwriting, the level of the lyrics, top-notch. Absolutely top-notch. Michelle, one of their great romantic hits, is on here. If I Needed Someone, another great one. Nowhere Man. This is also the album, and we're talking about CDs today, but back then we're talking about albums. This is where Paul McCartney's storytelling begins to rise to the forefront. He is one of the greatest storytellers of all time, and you combine that with John Lennon's avant-garde nature, and you've got two guys as songwriters that are just perfection. They bring out the very best in each other, and this is where it starts with me as the Beatles period that simply cannot be beat. All right, the next CD that we're featuring today is Revolver. And it is, too, a trifold. This is a fantastic album. This is easily one of my all-time favorite Beatles albums. What can I say about this? I mean, it is filled with song-to-song consistency. The Beatles are showing their evolution in songwriters, in production, in being a supergroup, the greatest supergroup of all time. And also, this album features really the beginning of the Eastern influence that influenced the band, their exposure to Eastern philosophy, Eastern religion, Eastern spirituality, and that rises to the forefront on this CD. Some of the great songs on this, Eleanor Rigby, And again, this one features Paul McCartney's storytelling, top notch. Maybe my favorite song on this is Here, There, and Everywhere. What a beautiful, romantic, wonderful song. One of my all-time favorites by the Beatles. Good Day Sunshine. You got to love it because it is buoyant, it's uplifting, it's positive, it's just happy music. One of the great ones in that respect by the Beatles. And then you've got Got to Get You Into My Life, fabulous song. And this is where the Beatles really begin to dive headfirst into psychedelia. In fact, it is knee-deep in psych music on this. They've got 3 songs on this that are very psychedelic. But the one to me that stands out head and shoulders above the others is Tomorrow Never Knows, which finishes the CD. Wow, fantastic. Featuring the sitar, Eastern influenced instruments. So what a great, fantastic CD. So one of my all-time favorites, easily by the Beatles, Revolver. Okay, the next one. What can I say about this Beatles release? Many critics believe it's the greatest they ever did. And this is the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's. It's a masterpiece. No doubt about it. Not even debatable. It is a masterpiece from beginning to end. This CD is one of the greatest social commentaries of what society was like in 1967 ever. It was fantastic. And it's almost like capturing it in a moment the way the Beatles laid this thing down and recorded it. It has fantastic songs on there. And one of my all-time favorites on here is She's Leaving Home. My gosh, what a tearjerker. Just tear your heart out about a family's upheaval when their daughter leaves home because she wants a life of her own after her parents thought they did everything possible, but they didn't. So, fantastic song. And then, once again, on this, there are a couple of other songs that really delve deeply into psych music and fantastic. And then, of course, it ends with one of the all-time greatest Beatles songs ever, A Day in the Life. This was, to me, the most powerful social commentary of that era ever done, period. Maybe ever done in any era. And captures really what people were doing and where people were at and how people were starting to tune out things that ordinarily would have gotten people's attention. So, yeah, this is a masterpiece. This is one of my top 3 favorite Beatles CDs of all time. Period. Stop. Not even debatable. Okay, this next one is, well, it's a CD now. It was an album, but it wasn't always an album. Not a full album anyway. And that is Magical Mystery Tour. And this is also a trifold. Preacher and the Boys. This is a great CD, but it always wasn't a full album. This actually was an EP released from a video that became a television special back in the day. And then later on, in order to release a full album, there was filler material on side 2. So this is great. This is just called the Magical Mystery Tour, which was the Beatles' television performance and eventually became a full album. I don't really necessarily, I'm not going to rank this one as far as my favorite. It's got great songs on it, don't get me wrong. And I love it. Beginning to end, I love it. But this is not a true album. At least it wasn't when it was initially released. But it's got wonderful songs on it. The Fool on the Hill, maybe my favorite on this. Another storytelling masterpiece by Paul McCartney. Just fantastic. And then Psychedelia. They've got some great psych tunes on this. The first one is I Am the Walrus. Whoa, you are talking about slogging knee-deep in psychedelia on that one. And then, of course, Strawberry Fields Forever, taking you into this mystical, magical, wonderful place as only the Beatles could do. So, again, Penny Lane, Paul McCartney storytelling at its very best. All You Need Is Love. Just a powerful commentary on how important love is. Done only as the Beatles could do, and it is fantastic. So, great, great CD. And our last one I want to feature today is Abbey Road. Now this one is different than the others. I didn't mention this, but this video is really about sound quality. Which of the Beatles CDs that I'm featuring today have the best sound quality? Now the first four that I mentioned all are the 2009 remasters. And to me, the 2009 remasters are as good as anything I've heard. This one, however, is a little different because this isn't a trifold like the others, but this is the 50th anniversary of Abbey Road, and it was released in 2019. Now, without question, this is easily one of my top 3 Beatles favorites, and on any given day, this could be number 1. It's really hard for me to rank a number 1 Beatles album for my favorites, just because I love them, and especially my top 3, which I'm going to get to in just a minute. But Abbey Road features some fantastic music, and it's the Beatles' swan song. This was their last release before the band broke up, and what a way to go out. Going out on top with one of their greatest albums of all time. This thing starts out with Come Together. It starts out with Something, which was George Harrison writing about his wife at the time and how much he loved her. And ultimately, she would leave him to go with Eric Clapton. And Eric Clapton wrote a song for her after she had left George. But what a fantastic song. Something is one of my all-time favorite hits. And then Here Comes the Sun, one of the most happy, buoyant, upbeat Beatles songs of all time. You just can't be sad listening to that song. It just lifts you up. And then there's the medley. The medley on here is second to none, maybe the greatest medley of all time. It's a masterpiece. Song to song, from beginning to end, it is an absolute masterpiece. I don't know how anybody could top it. I'm not sure it can be topped. But anyway, this CD is fantastic. All right, so let me show you. Okay, now let me share with you my top 3 favorite Beatles CDs of all time. No certain order. Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and last but certainly not least, Abbey Road. Now, 4 of the 5 CDs that I showed you today are the 2009 remasters, which to me are the best sounding Beatles CDs that I've heard. They all have what I would call as audiophile quality, sound quality, smooth, effortless mid-range, good, deep, tight bass, detailed, and some really nice, smooth, effortless, extended highs. Now the one that stands out, however, with the best sound quality. And what today's video is going to tell you, based on my experience, my system, and my preferences, the best sounding Beatles CD, unquestionably, is Abbey Road. Now this one goes beyond having audiophile sound quality. This one is demo quality. This is one that you can use to demo your system, and it's going to really push your system in all respects. Deep, powerful bass with real heft and weight. The mid-range is smooth, clean, clear, detailed, effortless. The highs are just there. They're not bright, shrill, edgy. They just are extended, detailed, and beautiful. So without question, to me, in my system, based on my musical preferences, the best sounding Beatles CD is Abbey Road. Now, before I go any further, I want to stop for just a minute, and I want to share something with all of you. I want to dedicate this video today to a very dear friend of mine that I lost about 2 years ago, and her name was Hope Daniels. She was a wonderful music lover. She was a record collector. In fact, at one time, she even owned her own stereo store. Her and I used to get together or talk on the phone, and we would debate, what is the Beatles' best CD? What is the Beatles' best record? We would talk about the Carpenters also, and many other artists. So I miss her terribly, and this video, Hope, it's for you. So anyway, thanks all of you for watching. Thanks for listening, and please do hit the like and subscribe button. That really helps my channel, and it helps me to grow my channel so I can bring to you all of these wonderful music and CD recommendations. Thanks everybody, and stay tuned. I will talk to you later.